Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Are you a dude that's a little self-conscious about your abs? Well, if you are, you might not want to watch today's video. So, for some reason, I decided that talking about two movies this week would be better than one. It, in fact, was not a good idea, and it's taken me forever to edit this video together. I also managed to break the Samsung microphone that I normally use to record these videos, so my apologies if it sounds a little different. I wanted to talk about two films that I really loved as a kid, as with most of the films I talk about, but I felt these two movies deserved a comparison, which is why I'm putting them in the same video. The Beastmaster from 1982 and Krull from 1983 are both fantasy adventure movies, and that's pretty much where the comparison ends. By the end of the video, you'll know which movie I enjoy watching more as an adult. I think I liked them both equally as a child, but watching it now, I have a very different opinion. With that being said, I'm going to start this comparison off with the movie Krull, because this is the one I have the most to say about. So allow me to catch you up on the plot of Krull if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a really long time. Set in a fantasy world that blends science fiction and sword and sorcery, Krull follows the heroic journey of Prince Krull. He must rescue his bride, Princess Lissa, from the clutches of an evil alien entity known only as the Beast. The Beast has traveled to planet Krull in a massive teleporting castle called the Black Fortress, bringing with it a deadly army of slayers. At the start of the film, Krull and Lissa's wedding, intended to unite their rival kingdoms, is interrupted by the Beast's forces. Lissa is kidnapped, and Krull is left for dead, but survives. With the help of an old wise man named Ynir, Krull embarks on a perilous quest across a fantastical landscape of Krull. To defeat the Beast, Krull must find and wield a legendary weapon known as the Glaive. Along the way, he gathers a group of unlikely allies, including a Cyclops, cursed to know when he's going to die, a band of escaped criminals, and Ergo the Magnificent, a bumbling but good-hearted magician. They face various dangers, from changelings to swamps, before locating the Black Fortress, which teleports to a new location each sunrise. Eventually, Krull confronts the Beast, defeats it using the Glaive and the power of his love for Lissa, and escapes the collapsing fortress with his few remaining allies. That would sound like a pretty straightforward plot synopsis and story, but watching Krull, it isn't quite that simple. This movie's actually kind of confusing if you're watching it for the first time. And for someone who's watching it again, a lot of things in it just don't make sense. Watching Krull is just like watching the third film in a trilogy without having any knowledge of the previous two films. Like, imagine you watch Return of the Jedi or Return of the King, and you had never heard of the first two movies. You would be completely confused by some of the things that are happening in the film. For example, Ynir seems to know the prophecy of the Beast and how he's taken over planets and conquered civilizations. But it's not really explained how this prophecy even came to him, how he would even know this. And he also seems to know a whole lot about the Beast while also knowing nothing about the Beast. Like, he speaks about people who try to find the Beast or conquer the Beast or whatever, and no man has ever returned. So who's telling these stories? Like, how do they know about the Beast when no one has actually seen the Beast? It doesn't make any sense in the story. Like, it will require some kind of setup before this film or a previous film to really explain how anyone even knows about the Beast. Something else that could have definitely used some setup is the planet Krull itself. This film took a lot of influence from the sword and sorcery genre and from Star Wars, so it tries to mix the two, but it doesn't do them very well. There's some exposition at the beginning of the film that kind of explains what's going on, but it really does nothing to help you understand what's actually going on in the movie. Take the Glaive, for instance. The old man tells Krull about the Glaive and how he's going to need it to save his bride. I mean, he really hypes this shit up, and it's the first thing that Krull has to do after he meets the old man. It's never really explained how the old man even knew where the Glaive was, or how he knew that he would definitely need it to save Lissa. And with all that hype, the Glaive isn't even the thing that ends up defeating the Beast at the end of the film. It's almost like it's just there to have a cool looking weapon on screen that Krull can use, almost like he's using the Force, a lot of influences from Star Wars, because he literally uses the Force in this film. Just imagine if Luke Skywalker trained for 3 films to perfect his Force powers and lightsaber skills just to defeat the Emperor with the power of love. That shit's lame. Another storyline in Krull that doesn't make a lot of sense is the woman in the web. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this scene was really cool when I was young, and it's still kind of cool now. The stop motion animation is pretty excellent. But the relationship between Ynir and the Woman of the Web, sure, you can kind of get behind that. But her whole punishment for killing their son and becoming this Woman of the Web that looks really old and can control this giant spider and has an hourglass that she can only use once. And if she pours the sand in someone's hand and it runs out, they're gonna die. Where do all these rules come from? How does she even know that? I mean, films tell you things all the time that you're just supposed to accept. But for some reason, watching this film as an adult, I just can't accept a lot of the things that are being told to me. They really just don't make sense because there's no context. Like seriously, why does the Beast want to marry Lyssa? He's an actual space alien. This is what I'm saying, these things don't really make sense. As an alien, why would he even be attracted to her? Do the women on his planet look like humans? It would make a lot more sense if the Beast was a former human who happens to be cursed to look the way he does, but he was also given superpowers. Then you could understand why he'd actually be attracted to Lyssa. But otherwise, he's a giant space alien who wants to marry this tiny human. What is he even going to do with her? These are the things that Krull wants you to believe. And I know at this point I'm kind of bashing the film. I really don't want to sound like I'm bashing it, but I had a lot more problems with it watching it as an adult than I expected. This film is like a hodgepodge of so many ideas. It really should have just brought down the scope of it a bit and made this an actual just straight up fantasy film. I mean, there's already magic, there's wizards and shit in this movie. Why does the bad guy have to be a freaking space alien? Totally unnecessary. Krull is available for free on streaming, and I honestly would recommend anyone to watch it, especially if you haven't seen it in a really long time and you got that nostalgia thing going on. These films tend to like jump streaming services, so you're gonna have to kind of check to see which one it's on. But like I said, there is still a lot of cool shit in this movie. The fire mares, they were cool when I was a kid and they're still pretty cool now. I mean, it doesn't really make sense that they didn't use them earlier in the film, kind of like the eagles in Lord of the Rings. They had to travel 1,000 leagues in a day. 1,000 leagues is 3,000 miles. So you imagine that they traveled at least 3,000 miles in, let's say, 24 hours. If you do a little quick math, that's about 125 miles an hour, non-stop. So why aren't fire mares the primary source of transportation on this planet? Honestly, I could keep going about things that are just kind of inconsistent about the story of this film, but I don't have that much time. However, if there's a true highlight of this film, it's James Horner's score. I talked about James Horner recently when I reviewed the movie Wolfen. His scores are excellent. Yes, he's known to reuse his scores from previous films, and Krull is no exception. It basically has the same score as The Wrath of Khan, which came out the previous year. When Krull was released, it wasn't nearly the hit that the studio wanted it to be, and it was panned by critics. My main issue with Krull is that there's just too much going on with too little explanation. Now I want to shift over to the other film in this video, The Beastmaster from 1982. The Beastmaster might be one of the films that me and my mom watched together the most. We loved this movie. For me, it was all the animals. For her, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with Mark Singer. So if you've never seen this movie or you haven't seen it in a really long time, let's do a brief rundown. The Beastmaster is a sword and sorcery fantasy film set in a mythic land following the journey of Dar, a warrior who has the unique ability to telepathically communicate with animals. At the beginning of the film, the evil high priest Mayax, played by Rip Torn, receives a prophecy that he will die at the hands of King Zed's unborn son. In response, Mayax attempts to kill the child. The baby is magically transferred from the queen's womb into a cow and birthed in the wild. The queen dies in the process. Just as one of Mayax's witches is about to sacrifice the child, he's rescued by a kind villager. Dar grows up learning that he can telepathically communicate with animals. When his village is destroyed by Mayax's marauders, the Jun Horde, Dar sets out on a quest for revenge. Along the way, Dar meets Kiri, played by Tanya Roberts, a slave girl, and teams up with Seth, played by John Amos, and Tal, and Zed's remaining loyalist. Kiri later turns out to be Zed's niece. Dar also meets his furry companions, including a black tiger, 2 ferrets, and an eagle. Dar uses his abilities to command his animal friends, as well as see through their eyes. In the end, Dar battles Mayax, killing him. He also defeats the entire Jun Horde. Despite being the rightful heir to the throne, Dar declines the rule and chooses instead to roam with his animal companions and Kiri. And that is the basic breakdown of the Beastmaster, just in case you forgot. So what did I think about my rewatch of Beastmaster? Well, honestly, I really enjoyed it. This movie is fun, there isn't too much going on, there aren't too many characters, the action scenes are pretty decent, and the story's okay. Honestly, what's not to like about it? And unlike the film Krull, the Beastmaster is a fully self-contained story. You get Dar's origin and his triumphant victory at the end. It also benefits from a really simple story that isn't overstuffed with characters and plot holes. It honestly makes the Beastmaster a much more enjoyable watch than Krull. Plus, Krull is about 15 or 20 minutes longer than it needs to be. It also didn't hurt that Tanya Roberts had a nude scene that I completely forgot about. And quickly, while I'm on the subject of Tanya Roberts, 2 years after this film, she'd star in Sheena, a film where she's raised in the jungles of Africa and she has the ability to talk to animals. I loved that movie as a kid, but thinking back on it, it's absolutely horrible. And you know what? I considered talking about it, but I'm not going to do it unless I hit 10,000 subs. So hit that sub button. Another big plus for Beastmaster is seeing John Amos on film. He was my favorite TV dad growing up, and I pretty much like anything he's been in. Rip Torn is pretty much perfect as Mayax. With that goofy ass face and that fake nose, he makes a great villain for this film. And he certainly seems scarier than the Beast from Krull. I mean, at least Mayax didn't get killed by the power of love or some lame shit like that. I should also mention some of the cool shit from Beastmaster, like the black tiger, or the two ferrets Kodo and Podo, or those hawk people that could digest an entire human inside their wings. Are they even hawk people? I don't know. I always call them hawk people. I have no idea what they're actually called in the movie. Anyway, as you can probably tell, the Beastmaster wins this battle for me. Watching them back to back made me realize that Krull, even though it's still a pretty decent movie and I have a lot of nostalgia for it, the Beastmaster just seems like a much better movie. So between the Beastmaster and Krull, which one do you think is the best? Or do you hate both of them? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy these versus videos, let me know in the comments and I'll do more in the future. So if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share it, and I will be back real soon.
If you don't want no whiskey, how about some dinner, good one?